Guys, this is our last, man. Some of you guys have sat through all 15 presentations. I want to first thank you guys for your commitment to this event. I hope that this is something that you will remember that will help. Really, I mean, the goal is to lift off your business for 2024. I hope that this was of value to you. I hope that you take what you learned. I hope that you implement some things. Don't just write everything down. Implement it. Try something new. Every single person that's speaking in front of you is a business owner. Just because we do painting and they do marketing doesn't mean that they haven't, had some challenges along the way and had to try new things. So that's the goal here, is to take what you learn. Some things will resonate with you, some won't. Filter out what fits with you at your current stage and get a little uncomfortable. This is it, guys. This is the last, I positioned Nick as our anchor, our closer here. I think he likes the pressure anyway. Nick, how are you, my friend?
Man, this is like the honor of a lifetime here, Tanner. It's just amazing. Like, you are a great gatherer of people, and that this is free is mind blowing to me.
It's free. All you gotta do is show up, be willing to learn. And what's even more mind blowing is that awesome people like you have no problem coming and speaking in front of these people to give value, of some of which you'll never meet. Isn't that interesting? We just give it out there. And so for those of you that have gotten, now this is a different one. I'm going to ask all of you to participate. So if you're driving and at a red light or wherever you're at, if you have ever gotten 1 ounce of value from this gentleman right here, could you throw something in the chat, please? Because I don't think he checks. I don't think he knows or cares. But here we're going to give Nick his, they're calling it his flowers per se. So if you have gotten anything from my good friend Nick Slavik here, throw in emojis just so he can soak that up and really appreciate the impact that he's making in the industry. Because for everyone, man, you give everyone credit, but dude, you are the leader of this industry, and I want to make
Wow.
that clear here, man. You're by a long shot. Okay. So let's
Wow.
make that clear. If anyone's never said that to you, everyone knows it. Everyone thinks about it. And a true leader is not going to take credit. So we're gonna force it down your throat. Okay.
Wow.
We love you, Nick. And really, man, at the end of the day, man, we just want to say thank you, all of us, for everything that you've done for us. And the way you lead by example, your team, your culture, and we're all paying attention to you. So if anything, pressure's on now. No,
Wow. Jeez,
we're
man.
excited, man. We're excited.
Well, Tanner, coming from you, that means a lot. And it means even more that you said that in front of Jason Paris. We're all witness here to that now. So, boy, that feels good. Two Minnesotans, the only way we accept compliments is when other people say them about us. So that's
That's it.
awesome.
Take it away.
All right, man. Thank you for this opportunity. You know I am grateful, my friend. I'm going to find my presentation here. All right.
Oh yeah, it's there, Nick. We're
And
ready.
good. All right, man. Thank you so much. All right, folks. So my favorite thing on earth is Q&A, and I want to make sure that Tanner and I have plenty of time to hop in for Q&A. You guys have sat through lots and lots of hours of Ask a Painters. I don't need to lecture again. Closing this thing means the absolute world to me. I don't take it for granted. I've been condensing a whole bunch of Mastering the Basics Ask a Painter episodes. I just got back from a master's class in the Boston area. In fact, Tanner, this entire event means so much to me. I drove 4 hours through a snowstorm when they were shutting down roads, go Minnesota driving, to get on a plane. Today, I changed my flight so I could be here for this. This is how meaningful this is, not only to all of us, but the industry.
Amazing.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the love for the PCA, because you guys know how much the PCA means to me and everyone else here. Like, I am who I am because of the people in the PCA, and I do not take that for granted. And Expo's coming up, so thank you much, Tanner. So I thought I would just get on here, and I mean, the information that I've heard over the last couple of days is dense beyond belief. Like, it is so good. These are experts doing this for free, rapid firing information. I sometimes struggle, because I am a Minnesotan with low self-esteem, to figure out how I can add value. But here's how I can add value. I'm going to give you a unique perspective. Hopefully I can add to the rest of the speakers here in a unique way and not repeat anything. And then, of course, we want to open it up for Q&A. You guys can ask about anything you want. I travel around. I got lots of data, lots of feelings about the industry, lots of predictions. I just did a prediction show for 2024, and happy to talk about any of that. So I want to talk about how you actually win in 2024, right? Because this is the time when we talk about our businesses. We're doing liftoff. We're doing mastering the basics with Ask a Painter. So how do we actually do this, right? Because we have sat through years before where we had all these grandiose plans. We're just shaking with anticipation, and then magically a year later we find ourselves in the same position. I'm going to show you how to actually not do that this year. So some quick stats, data plus feelings, of course. If you feel friction this year from growing a business, if things don't feel easy and tiptoeing through the tulips, congratulations. Owning a business is hard. Growing a business is hard. In the US, all businesses, not just painting businesses, 98% of all businesses have less than 19 employees. Only 1.7% of all employers have 20 to 99. And only 0.3% of all employers have more than 100 employees. So really, when you start looking at self-employed, 79% of all businesses in the United States are self-employed. Less than 10% of all businesses have 17% of all employees have less than 10 employees. And only 2% of all employers have 10 to 19 employees. So I bring that up because if you're self-employed, you are in the vast majority. You're in the 79%, right? Owner operator, no value judgment. I'm not saying big is good, small is bad. There's beautiful ways to do this craft in this business all the time. But only less than 10% of 17% of all businesses have less than 10 employees. This is hard. That stat will tell you that's rarefied air to have a whole bunch of employees like that. So Jason Paris said this to me years ago. And it's been something that's stuck with me a long time. And in one of the many nuggets that he's dropped on me over the years, he just looked at me and said, "This is hard." And sometimes hearing somebody you respect say that and who has been through it with you in the trenches, you're like, yeah, you know what? It is hard. I'm not doing something weird to create this feeling of difficulty and friction. This is just hard in any industry, in any country, anywhere around the world. So I just want to congratulate all of you guys, because sometimes we take for granted that we took the biggest risks in our lives and started a business, right? There is no safety net to what we do. We could lose our house doing what we do. And I just want to honor that. And I want to tell you guys how proud I am of you that. So number one, we obviously have to think about the larger plan, right? I'm a traction-based guy. They have a thing called the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer. It's a couple-page document that forces you to say, where do you want to be in the near or far future? And then it forces you to back it up all the way to here. And remember, this industry is unique. Remember the data and the feelings from traveling around in the industry. This industry is unique. We are a bunch of bleeding hearts. We are a bunch of martyrs. We're so empathetic. We care about our employees. We care about our clients, and we will go to the ends of earth under great duress, high pain tolerance, sometimes forsaking our families and our personal lives and our friends and everything else to make sure that we do great work and make happy people. That's good, but it can be taken to an extreme, right? One of the things I took away from college when I went to college many years ago was the role of a business is to maximize profits for its owners and stakeholders. Number one, remember that if you don't have a return monetarily or freedom time-wise for yourself and your family, you cannot begin to take care of other people. Start with running a profitable business. In the times when I've supported my neighbors, my community, my greater industry, in the best ways possible was in the times when I've had a profitable business, because it's given me time and money freedom in order to maximize my impact on that. Also, they've added something since I was in college, which is maintaining corporate social responsibility. All right. You don't want to be a farmer and completely devoid the soil of all nutrients. You don't want to completely do harm to others in order to get a return for your own business. So there is that whole corporate social responsibility thing now. So the classic structure from Traction is this: big corporations. You have a visionary, you have an integrator, you have sales and marketing, operations, finance, there's IT departments, there's HR, there's all this other kind of stuff. The truth about all this is that great. You probably can't afford a visionary and integrator, two people to run your business. You may not even have a sales and marketing team. You probably don't have a finance, a legal team, an IT department. Guess what? If you own a business, all these things do exist. Now, they might be small. They may not be very needy of your time, but all these things have to exist in a business. Again, you may not hire it out. You may not have somebody do it. But if you're a single owner operator, guess what? You got a legal department, right? You're doing work out there and you have to have a contract, right? If you take on employees, now all of a sudden you got to have an employee resource guide, an employee manual. That's got to be vetted by an employee, right? You're going out there Even IT departments. Somebody's got to fix your IT. It may not need a lot of fixing, but it's got to exist out there. So typically, this is the corporate structure. This is what big businesses, a lot of businesses base their kind of skeleton structure on. This is kind of our industry structure. When you start getting into the smallest versions of professionalized businesses that start having leadership teams, typically what you have is an owner. You got some sort of office admin or coordinator. You have some sort of project management, and you have some sort of estimating and sales. And then you have your technicians, your painters, right? This is kind of how it breaks down. And how you hire estimating project management or administration, things like that, is really dependent on the person. I know some people like to go admin right away early on. Some people like to go estimator project management right away. It really depended on how you structure your business, how simple it is, and your personality too, your risk and reward profile. Like you probably could not get two more disparate ways of growing about the same size business than like me and Brad Ellison, right? I grew a company where I did everything for way longer than I should have, hired, and it was immediate relief. Brad, he hired people on and then filled with revenue and production and things like that. This is not a value judgment. One way is not better or worse. It's just there's certain ways of growing these businesses that fits your personality. So no value judgment from me, as long as you're watching your job costing, things like that. So here's the majority of our industry right here. Remember those business stats? 79% are typically self-employed. In our industry, it's believed that it's about 99%. So here's what our industry looks like, right? You got the owner, that's us. We got project management, we got estimating and sales, we got administration, and we're doing the work of about 4 people out there in the field, right? So the vast majority, almost every single paint business in the United States, especially residential, looks like this. You are the owner. You're calling the clients, you're ordering paint, and you're lining up your own labor. That's project management. You're going out and doing estimating, right? You're doing the administration. You're sending invoices. You're doing job costing. You better be doing job costing, right? And you're also painting, right? So this industry is full of people just like me, where I was a master craftsperson. I left my own family business because the family business did not support me in the way that I needed to be supported, right? I had military experience. I had a college education. I was a really good craftsperson, and there was no pay, no comp, no future for me, even in my own family business. So I had to leave my own family business and start my own business to find an opportunity. The vast majority of the businesses in this industry are found and not sought after, right? I encapsulate the vast majority of origin stories of businesses in this industry, which is, you're a really good craftsperson. You can't possibly find a good company that'll take care of you, support you, be consistent, have a future. So you got to start your own business. Most of us never intended to be business owners and start businesses. So really, we thought, hey, I'm a master craftsperson. I'm going to paint. I'm just going to do it for myself now. A lot of the times we didn't realize we now own an IT department, a legal department, an HR department, things like that. It may not take a lot of your time, but it's there. And then we start taking on employees. And then those things are like, yeah, now it's just going to be me painting and a bunch of other painting as well. And now the need for an HR department comes in big and strong. You don't know what that is. You don't know how to do it. You don't have any experience in it. Doesn't mean you're bad. It just means we're not prepared for it and we didn't expect it. So now we got to build this plane as we're flying it. The hardest thing in our industry to do is to have a painting business and learn how to be a business owner while it's growing, right? Most of us are great owners. We can look 10 years into the future, have a good vision. I want to grow a big business. I want to be off the ladder. I want to do this and that. And most of us are good craftspeople. And there's nothing in the middle, no management, no day-to-day block and tackle accountability here and there. So this is what our industry feels like, right? This stuff crushes you. And this beautiful craft that we had, this thing, I used to love scraping Victorian houses, getting all that old lead paint off, doing it, going by the RRP laws, doing amazing work for these old historic structures. Now, all of a sudden, when you got HR issues and you got IT issues and you got legal issues and you got marketing issues staring down your back, you think about this beautiful craft, this passion we have, a lot differently, and you don't enjoy it as much. And then the industry starts to sour on us a little bit and we start losing hope. It wasn't what we thought. I thought this business owner stuff was supposed to be great. It's hard, man. It's hard. But if you know what you're getting into, if it's not a surprise, if there's people around you like me and Jason and Tanner and everybody else to say, this is hard. If it feels hard, congratulations, you're doing everything right. If it's not hard, you should be worried. You should be worried a lot. This is a crushing weight of the responsibilities, that heavy burden that we bear. The good thing is Liftoff, PCA, Expo, all these other things. These are the solutions. This is the antidote for this loneliness, this weight that's forced upon us. The second I started reaching outside of myself, getting involved with Brandon, Brad, Micah, Jason, Tanner, all these other guys here like this, my world opened up. I didn't feel alone. That burden didn't feel so bad because not only are there other people sharing that burden with you that are in the trenches with you to commiserate, there's people that have gone way beyond it. And they just say, oh, no, man, here's where you are. Here's what we can do. That's what these things like Liftoff are for. So, technician, owner. Oh, let me go back here. Role of our technician, right, is to deliver on your promise. We got a job description. We got a pay scale, things like that. We own this, right? Whether you're a single owner operator or not. I just came from Boston and we were doing a talk about clear roles, about production and things like that. And somebody said, great, Nick, you got these steps to professionalization, which I'm going to share later. But I probably don't need to do half that because I'm a sole proprietor. It's like, well, if you work for yourself and you don't have a job description, you don't pay for yourself, you don't write down your responsibilities, things like that, that's like having a to-do list that's never written down, right? Writing things down make things real in a really cool way, right? And so the owner, whether you know it or not, these are the things that we must do, right? These are the things that we must do. Vision. We have to start laying track, excuse me, out in front of the company. We got to do integration. When we have this vision, we got to bring it back down to the level that actually things get done this week in order for us to accomplish these vision goals. We have to own the profit and loss statement, right? Whether you, excuse me, whether you like it or not, you have to understand a profit and loss statement, right? Lead, manage, and accountability. You need to be the leader of this company. You need to manage it, and you have to do the day-to-day accountability. Those simple block and tackle management sort of things that we really don't like to do and kind of gets overlooked all the time. Marketing. You just sat through a world-class marketing presentation. That stuff is infinitely complex. It's not easy to decipher. Sometimes the outcomes are a little fuzzy. Guess what? We own that as well too. Not only marketing to our clients, but marketing to potential employees as well too. Recruiting, onboarding, and training. There's a stat floating around out in the real world where this is in all industries. 79% of all employees would consider leaving their job because of a bad or non-existent onboarding process, right? If your onboarding process is, here's a free shirt, now go over there and work with grumpy old Bill and he'll teach you how to paint, 79% of the people you do that to are probably going to leave your business, right? These are things that we need to own. We didn't know they existed. We don't necessarily want to do them, but congratulations, we're business owners now. HR. In Minnesota, we just got a law dropped on us that we have to have mandatory PTO and have a very strict way of tracking it. Most painting contractors out there don't even know this law exists, let alone have a system to comply with it, have it vetted by their by their lawyer, things like that. That's all human resources, right? And legal too. Big relationships. We want to get involved with contractors. We want those long-standing good relationships. We're in charge of that too. We got to make time for that. Creativity and logic, problem solving, coding science, things like that. Culture. We're in charge of the culture too. So remember that little human figure being crushed by the weight and the burden of owning a business. If you show up to work grumpy and sad and tired every day, people sniff that out. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it's not as obvious. People sniff that out. And guess what? You may say our culture is world-class craftsmanship. Everybody works hard. Everybody's happy. But your culture is actually what people express it as every single day. If you go to all your employees and ask them what the culture is, guess what? That's the culture. It's not what you think it is, right? And then exceptionalism. I do believe, I heard an argument earlier this year, and I do believe it. I think it's a really good argument that the leader of a company, a CEO, a general manager, an operations manager, a founder should be exceptional at something, right? You don't have to be exceptional at the thing you sell. Right? There's plenty of good examples of people who have never painted or have not painted a very long time that run some of the finest painting companies in North America, right? But you need to be exceptional in something: managing, creating software, vision, holding people accountable, managing, things like that. You should be exceptional in something. And the good thing is most of us are, right? So here's what you're feeling right now. And I think this might be a unique value proposition that I would have for you guys is, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know, but I'm just going to put a word to it, which is dissonance. Dissonance is a word where you combine certain things together and they don't work very well, and it causes stress or friction in your life. So think about us being crushed by the burdens of running a business, but yet we have this dream of sipping a blue drink on a beach, not painting, running people, having a great company culture, consistent, stable, as passive as you can profit out of these painting businesses. The gap from where we are now, being crushed by the burden of the thing that we created, and where we want to be, all that stuff in between is called dissonance. And when we feel that itching, that burning sensation where something's just not right, where we're not doing enough, we're not good enough, things aren't working well, I don't feel like I'm making progress. Sometimes it's hard to put a name or a face to that thing. That is called dissonance. And you're going to find this in a lot of areas of your life. When you just feel unsettled, when you feel a little bit burdened, when you just feel like you're not sure what the next step is, or there's too much going on, or you're overwhelmed, that is dissonance. It's the difference between where you are now and where you want to be. And sometimes people are really good at saying, oh, okay, here's some steps that I need to do. And they start working through that. That will relieve a little bit of that dissonance, right? But if all we do is stand here with our burden and have this thought out here and not have a plan to get us there, we are going to be crushed by not only the weight of the thing we built, but by this dissonance as well, too. So you already know the answer to this. This is like diet and exercise, right? Is there any mysteries about what we want to do if we want to get fitter, if we want to look like Brad Ellison without a shirt on, right? You eat less and you move more, right? But there are thousands of books, thousands of videos, YouTube channels, things like this. And there's constantly new ones. Everybody knows what to do, and so do you. You've sat through all these amazing presentations, right? You know exactly what to do. Do it. Don't you ever let perfection stand in the way of really good. The choice you make right now, the thing you do right now, is going to be better than just about anything you're going to do when you sit there and mastermind it out on a spreadsheet and either get it out 6 months from now or not at all, right? The unsatisfying answer is the people who win, the panelists, the people that we all look up to as having these amazing businesses in our industry, they do simple, mundane, unsexy things consistently forever. They don't magically stumble across one little thing and it changes their entire world and it's a moonshot and their businesses change forever and then they never put effort again. The people who are most successful that we all look up to, not only in our industry, but everywhere else, do a series of very small things really, really well, consistently forever. And the theme of Q4 last year for me and all of this year is something that Jason Paris had said to me last year, which is we will always overestimate what we can do in a week, but we will completely underestimate what we will do in a year. And if you wake up and you pick 3 things to get done today and you do that for 261 working days in a year, that's 750 things that you've accomplished, right? And during the day, those 3 things that you pick out, you might be looking at 60 things on your to-do list and you only pick 3 and you're feeling the burden, that dissonance of where you are now and where you want to go. You tell yourself, my 3. It's just my 3. I'm just going to do these 3 things a day. And if I just get 3 little wins a day, it's not going to feel like much, right? We're always going to overestimate. I'm going to write all my SOPs this week. And then we don't, then we get sad, then we don't do anything for 6 months. Write 1 SOP this week or create a template for an SOP this week and then write another SOP next week. Pick 2 other little small things, right? 3 things a day. That's kind of the way we go. Those who execute are going to win big in 2024. It doesn't even matter what you execute for the most part. What estimating software, what timekeeping app, what this and that. Listen, we could make a great argument for Dripjobs. If you comply with Dripjobs, it's going to work. If you don't comply with Dripjobs, if you don't take any Tanner support, it's not going to work, right? The thing you do, the thing you execute, the thing you comply with, the thing you're consistent with, you do right now, and you do all year are this thing that's going to make you win. So on this last page here on the right, steps to professionalization, I want to give you guys something for free because you guys all sat through this presentation here. You've sat through 2 days of this sort of thing. Me and the rest of the presenters want to give as much value as you can. Tanner, that's a great value proposition for this thing. I'm going to send you my steps to professionalization. It's a document how guys like me, Jason, and Brad grew businesses from 0 employees to, now we're at about 40, give or take, at the height of the season. This is the exact steps that I took. And again, this is diet and exercise. A lot of the stuff you're going to see on this is no duh, but those of you who start at the top, do some stuff and work your way down to the bottom this year, you're going to be a heck of a lot better off than when you started this year. So that's my proposition to you. I'm going to send you the sheet. There's hyperlinks to all the resources that myself and other people give away. And here's my email address. If you email me and ask for my steps to professionalization, I will absolutely send that to you as my gratitude for not only you supporting Tanner and Dripjobs, all the other presenters, but supporting the PCA, which all the information, who I am now, where I am right now in this industry, the relief from dissonance that I've got over the years has been because of the PCA and the humans involved in it. So I just want to thank Tanner for doing this. It's an amazing event. I love that you do this every year. I'm glad that so many people support the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that signed up and showed up, Tanner, on work days is insane, dude.
Crazy. Nick, man, as always, amazing impact. What I love most about you is that you have no problems admitting where you started. And I think the closer we can get to, I put out something the other day. It was like, I remember with that first paycheck, man, not the first paycheck, but that first deposit. And I stared at that thing. I was so proud of myself. And I told myself, man, I'm going to give this customer every ounce of my being to ensure that the promise is kept. And man, isn't it true that we just want to try to get as close to that as possible the further we grow our business?
Yeah, man, you got it, man. And this industry, like, man, I love painting so much, but now that we're in this thing, now that we're outside of ourselves and we have employees, you really get down to like how humanistic this business is and all the friction. In my master's class in Boston yesterday, I was there with Moose Painting, a Christian Manhard, and all the conversations. Yeah, we dabbled in a little bit of Centurion and a little bit of oil primer, but my God, it's the humans. And it just surprises me how much we care for all the humans around us and how far we go to create like time and money freedom for those around us. And this event, Tanner, and you are great examples of that. So just hats off, man.
Beautiful. All right. So what my plan was, Nick, is we're going to do a little Q&A specific to you. Yeah. And in about 10 minutes, we're going to open up a panel. Hopefully do you have a couple minutes to stick around?
Dude, of course. You kidding me?
Right on. All right. So guys, Nick, there's so many questions here, man. Let's try to hammer through it. We'll probably try to do rapid fire, but
next year, Tanner, I'm only doing oil primer talk. So we've done enough of this dissonant business building stuff. We're going back to the roots, baby.
I love it. All right, guys. So ask your questions here. What we're gonna do, we'll get some questions in. I'm gonna kind of cherry pick here, guys. If you got a question for Nick, drop it. I got to kind of sift through the chat, Nick. While I'm looking for good questions to ask, the PCA, real quick. How's it been going as the leader of the PCA? I know that was your new role. It's been a little over almost a year. It hasn't been a full year. What has been some changes that have been made or implemented? I know that some leadership's changing. Kind of like can you address some things going on there?
Yeah, man. So God, the PCA it gets even more interesting when you get on the inside and start really being intentional about giving your time as a servant leader, because all the members, everybody else here, we're members of the PCA. We're servant leaders. We love to give back. We give back to our churches and communities. And the PCA is like this lighthouse where guys like you and me, Tanner, and all the rest of these guys on the panels and most likely all the people watching right now, we magically find ourselves giving back to schools, churches, community groups. And sometimes it's actually hard to find a way to give back to the max because we're kind of utilitarians too. So one of the biggest value propositions of the PCA is, boy, if you want to be a part of something, be a servant leader and give back to those around you. Like true leadership is looking out for those around you and giving back. And it's absolutely amazing that the PCA is a lighthouse for that. We will maximize your input and output into those things. So I was elected to the board of directors a few years ago. And just like anything, you work through a chain of command. I became a director. I worked on some committees, and then I became an officer, vice president. And under Jason's tutelage, he really showed me how to lead from a board. And he is really, really good at that. I think he's a quiet leader. I don't think people understood how effective and how good Jason is at that because he's such a quiet guy. But he really set it up and he really let me know what the important things are about grooming next board members and things like that. And yeah, our executive director for the last 4 years had requested to transition out. He wants to spend some time. He's a new season of life, go back to his painting business, his family, things like that. So the board stepped in and we found an interim executive director. We have a 6-month contract with them. Her name is Jill. She is one of the most substantial humans I've ever met. She came from our network, our relationship of people. Maggie Kuiper, a friend of ours from Tennessee, had known her from her network. We interviewed her. We were very rigorous. We made about 400 attempts to find somebody to step into leadership there. We did. And yeah, we basically want to set up for a monster expo. Then we want to recruit of the full-time executive director. And this interim will give us that bandwidth to really do like some world-class recruiting with a headhunter and things like that. So yeah, we're looking forward to the biggest, most robust expo that this industry has ever seen coming up in February.
Guys, yeah, sign up for the expo. Exciting stuff. All right, so I got a couple questions rolling in. Looking back to your early years, what is one thing you would do differently to help grow your business?
Job cost. It's the simplest, dude, it's the simplest thing ever. It's the foundational piece of data. Like my life, I've had this business for 16 years and really we've gone from about 0 to 40 people in about the last 6 years. I could have done that in 3 years, 15 years ago, if I would have learned about job costing and done all those steps to professionalization. And I will be upfront and honest, like you said, being vulnerable. I grew a big old business before I had any of that stuff. And it was pretty painful, man. And then I had to backfill with all that stuff. So I would say number one steps to professionalization, get some software like Dripjobs, but job cost, man, job cost will just free you up.
Job costing. And that is our big flagship feature we're so excited to release. And just because it's so important. I mean, it's kind of like going to the doctor and getting your blood checked, right? I mean, what's going on in there? Job cost brings everything full circle. So that's super exciting. Guys, a couple more questions. Can you be a PCA member being a Canadian painting contractor?
Oh, yeah. My right-hand person in the PCA is an officer from Canada, Dave Graham. He's got a monster commercial business. Oh, no, this is all North American. In fact, we got, I believe there's even some Europe, some Brazil, things like that. It used to be the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America. We changed and rebranded, I believe under Jason's tenure, to the Painting Contractors Association so that we're inclusive of other countries. Yes.
My buddy DeWeed asked a question. How would you develop an online presence on Instagram just as Moose Painting has done successfully?
Yeah. So obviously make satisfying videos, be consistent with them. But the wrinkle is, and this is true, I've been posting for 10 years on social media. What they said 10 years ago is absolutely true today, which is be genuine. If you try to be Moose Painting, if you try to be Ask a Painter, if you try to be Tanner Mullen, if you try to be Paintbrush in a Dream, Jason Paris, it's going to feel fake and people can sniff that out in a second. So number one, the hacks, again, are diet and exercise, which is post consistently, do something that people like. And honestly, it's nothing more different. Take a cue out of what Christian from Moose Painting does. Time-lapse videos of a simple painting process. No crazy editing, no crazy effects. You don't even have to have captions and stuff. It's literally just him doing something really, really well. His success, number one, he's a master crafts person. He's an amazing human being. He's consistent. He's just consistent and he couldn't be more genuine. So when you get all those things in line, you'll blow up like that.
People are saying that there used to be a Canadian chapter and they want to know if you can, you have some pull now. Can we get that back and going again?
Yes. So get this. After World War II, a bunch of these organizations had chapters and councils, right? They read the reading of the minutes, the Roberts rules for these meetings and little things like that. And they really kind of like quieted down up until the 80s and 90s. And there's a couple weird little chapters and things left. But we started invigorating this. And Brad Ellison actually took the lead with Brandon Pierpont on this. We created our generations of these groups called gathering groups. And there is a gathering group in just about every state in the United States. And we can start them in Canada as well, too. And it all starts from something that Jason and I started in Minnesota. We created a Facebook page, not unlike, painting contractors. We don't have as many members. It's only Minnesota people. It's about 350 or 400 contractors. We invited all our friends. We started the discussion going in our Facebook group. And then we started doing quarterly meetings where we get them together. And the culmination of this is 4 times a year, we get a sponsor. We get Graco, Titan, Sherwin, Hirschfield's, a paint store, and things like that to host us, give us a place and buy us food. And then we do learning together. And at our last get together, I think there was about 100 people in attendance in Minnesota at the Graco factory and with Sherwin-Williams. So that's what's possible if you stick with it. But Jason and I have been doing that for 4 or 5 years now, getting our gathering of Minnesota painters together, our GOMP. So the PCA actually has a standard operating procedure, a startup sheet, and guides for it. So if you go to the PCA's website, not only can you reach out to Brandon, Brad, me, and Jason, but there's an actual guide on how to start it, and we'll be there to support you. I show up to first meetings sometimes and kick them off for people.
Love it. Love it. Let's see. Okay, I got a call. There's a game changer. All right. I'm definitely that guy laying on the ground doing all the jobs in my company. What's my first step to get to the other side?
Yeah. Get the steps to professionalization and start working top to bottom. Number one is standard operating procedures. Like even if you're working for yourself, standardizing all your processes. So number one, figuring out what paint, what primer, what brush, what roller, what spray tip, what pressure goes where to get a guaranteed result. You need a standardized product, a guaranteed product. So when you look a client in the eye and say, we're going to enamel your cabinets, you're actually going to do it and it's actually going to work. If you start adding a whole bunch of people and you don't even know what primer to use, that's going to be a huge problem. So standardizing all your processes and then getting a metric-based bidding system, right? So you want to track all your projects. You want to track hours and materials, labor. If you have employees, track all their wages and burden and things like that. And then you job cost. And that's the foundation. If you have a proven product, if you start having a metric-based bidding system and you're job costing your jobs, that's a beautiful little feedback loop, because in the job costing, you might find that you're unprofitable. And so then you can go back to your proven processes or your estimating and say, we need to change a process. We need to increase our price, something. But that beautiful little feedback loop will create a foundation so that when you sprinkle over decent human beings and apprentices on it, it doesn't amplify the chaos.
Yeah, I mean, bringing it full circle is so important. I mean, that's kind of just, you can't have one without the other. You can't have estimating without job costing. Well, you could, but you're not going to learn from it.
Well,
it's hard.
Most people do, and it's
feedback loop is important. You just need a quick feedback loop. You could go 6 months without adjusting anything and be like, "Oh my God, we're bleeding."
Yep. Well, I had this really cool interaction with this guy, very like timid, kind of quiet, mousy kind of guy with a beanie pulled down over his head in Boston. And at the end, we had a piece of pizza and a beer. And I was like, "Hey, man, what's up?" He's like, "I just started my painting business like 2 months ago. I have a master's degree in accounting. The corporate world was crushing me. So I just started a painting business." And he's like, he asked me, like, "You talk about this job costing thing. Like, what a waste of time." And I was like, "I don't think you understand our industry. Like, they've never heard of job costing before." And he's like, he's an accounting major. He's got a master's degree in accounting. He's stepping into this, and it's so obvious to him that he would do this. Now, he wasn't saying that to be mean or punitive, but I brought a great perspective was, listen, man, I've been a painter for 30 years. I didn't go to college. I don't have a master's degree in accounting, right? I didn't know this stuff existed. I found out later on when I was having a whole bunch of friction, and you reach out to the people that mean the most to you and you say, man, I'm not making any money and this sucks. Help me. And they're like, job costing,
I got one more for you, Nick. And then we're going to transition to the panel here.
Yeah.
Everybody's blowing up the chat, man. I'm trying to find it. I had it, and then you know how it goes. You lose it. Somebody asked a pretty good question here. Let's see. Hey, Nick, your technical knowledge of paint is tremendous, but I've heard you mention you could have started to scale earlier. What is the optimal amount of technical knowledge to build a 3 million plus business?
0. I mean, optimal. Well, listen, okay.
Yeah,
okay. Optimal is different. You don't need it. Now, here's the deal. There's great arguments, and guys who have never painted before will argue always, you don't even need to know to paint to run a business. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But what if you were a domain expert? What if you had some crazy deep domain expertise, right? Like that is a beautiful thing to sprinkle over. So if I could take my knowledge and my experience and imbue it in every human in my company would be way better off. Now, you don't need that though. Painting is not the most difficult thing on earth, although we would love to have it be that way. Here's what I would do. You can rapid cycle test using the scientific process where you come up with a hypothesis, you come up with some variables, you do some tests, you look at the test, and then you make a change, and then you keep that cycle going, that scientific process. If you just keep doing that, this is not difficult. People like me will tell you what to use. People like Jason Paris will tell you what to use. Other master crafts people will just tell you, just use this. Right? Experiment all you want, but it's not hard to figure out things that are just proven and good. And then you can work on your business from there.
Beautiful.